Nice to see you all. A very warm welcome and wishing you all a very happy Dhanteras. I know it's it's festive mood and, we all are joining, taking some time out, but this is going to be a quick, crisp session, and I'm sure it's going to add immense value for you guys. Uh, a very warm welcome, Bharti. Thank you so much for doing this for the community. Uh, yeah. So, all right, so let's start. Just to set the context for today's session, Bharti, I request you to unmute yourself so that we can, engage. Yeah. So, just to set a quick context for today's session, I have been jamming with Bharti over, building a team for this community and making this community an independent and a sustainable model. And in the process of, discussing with her, brainstorming with her, she really added value to our perspectives, and it was an interesting point that she made, that are you really ready to have a team yet, or is it something you need more concrete, more you know maybe numbers in place, maybe forecasts in place, maybe some traction in place. And this was really something that we discussed, that why is it that the external things are discussed upon with respect to hiring and resources, but it's never that we don't very often find articles about the entrepreneur's mindset or the founder's mindset when it comes to hiring. So when you want to start hiring, what are the things that you need to keep in mind as entrepreneur, as a founder of a company? Uh, and that's how we went on to conceptualize this session. And we have a few things that we'll be covering today: founders and companies preparedness, pre-hire requirements, employers responsibility, the persona that we talk about, the employee persona, and the qualities. Um, Topic for today's masterclass, as you all are aware, Are You Ready to Hire by Bharathi Vijayappa. She's the founder and CEO of HireMap IT Consultants. And she's going to touch upon all these things. She's a startup catalyst, working with the startup biggies across the US, UK, and in Asia. And she specializes in the space of building tech teams for businesses. Welcome, Bharti.
Thanks, Samrat. That was really a very nice intro. I'm really happy to talk to all the founders here who are looking forward to build the team. I mean, entrepreneurs are a different kind of uh, species, I can tell, when compared to the other people. Maybe if you are an employee and then if you have turned into an entrepreneur, that's really one of the very good change move that you have made. Startup is a beautiful world to be in. I've been working with the startups for almost more than a decade's time, and I have seen various stages of startup. I've met amazing entrepreneurs through my journey, and the last 10 years of my experience building the team, both for the bootstrapped startups and the funded startups. I don't really find that kind of a major difference between both the companies, apart from the salary point of view, because a funded startup will have a good amount of money in their bank account to spend on the hiring, but bootstrap will have a challenge on that to match on the number. But I mean, finding a talent, it is both of them are there in the same path. So only people who enjoy the complete journey of the startup will be able to understand the complete ups and downs, and hiring is not really a mathematical equation. We don't know, it is, I mean, it's a combination of art and science, I always tell. So most of the time, I mean, the stage like when the entrepreneurs think that they want to hire us, like they become too busy. No one knows like when the customer base would be increasing on. One fine day, they find that there is too much of task, and they really need people to offload their workload, and help them to increase on the numbers. I mean, this is the time the founder really has to think on what kind of the manpower does he wants to hire. The first thing is like the founders have to really study their business very well. Okay. Today it might be a small project what they have got, or or some kind of an X amount of work that they want, and they really want to hire a resource. They just jump in most of the time, and then go and try to find a person with that particular skill, and then they try to fit in. But that's not the way any of the startup has to really work on. Most of the time, like I've seen people, I mean, the founders hiring like that, and then all of a sudden, either the work, the business goes down, and or the person is not able to meet the expectation of the business, and also the founder's expectation. So I always tell the entrepreneurs to first study the business. Once they find, for example, like if it is an marketing company where they need a graphic designer, okay, they might have got an project, okay, and they don't have anyone to hire on. They immediately go and jump and hire a graphic designer, and they come and they onboard them, and then they start to work. But that's not really the way. The founder has to first really think on, okay, I'm going to hire this X resource, right? How far my business is going to utilize this resource. First, once it is very, very important for the founders to understand the business and completely write a 3 months, 6 months, okay, and 1 year plan for the person what they are going to hire. Okay, my business will be able to get the work done from this X person that I'm going to hire. So once they validate that the business really requires this person for the next 1 year, okay, then they have to start writing the persona of the employee that they want to hire on. It is not just the skill set, right? Today, like India is one of the very big talent pool, and anyone who wants to just come here and then hire the resource because the cost might be less than the other part of the world. I mean, India has changed a lot in the last almost, I can tell, more than 5 6 years. Today, no, I mean, it is not the place to get the cheap resource with a good quality. Most of the time, like the Indians working here are getting the pay package in parallel with the Silicon Valley talent, right? So the employees whom you want to hire, okay, the first thing is, once you identify your business is ready, then you start to write, okay, what does this person has to do from the first month, okay, again write a 3 months, 6 months, and a 1 year plan for this particular job, okay. And one more thing which I really I've found with a lot of startups, right? They don't really give proper training to the employee that they are going to hire. Okay, when asked upon, when I try to question, okay, when we go through a brainstorming session, why this candidate failed to perform even though his resume looked wonderful, he had a great experience, and he had worked with a similar kind of another company, okay, you will identify that in the first 1 month the founders have not really spent a good amount of time with the resource, explaining him about what your business is, what your customer is, right? So this has to be really done by the customer. When he is hiring, he himself has to make sure that, okay, I am ready to give out the time required for me to train this resources for him to be successful, and at the end the business is going to be successful if I have hired the right kind of the resource.
Correct. I think Bharti, it is about
Mm-hmm.
the job responsibilities and the job descriptions when they are spoken out and on the emails and on the job portals.
Mm-hmm.
These are often things put forward, but then the employer's responsibility is something that goes beyond the job description. So I think
Yeah, yeah.
I think we should also dive a little deeper into what are the kind of employers' responsibilities that, as entrepreneurs we should circle down at and work towards it.
Yeah, I mean, job description is one of the very important document the founders have to write upon. Okay, you are the hiring manager, right? Like you now in the first step, as I said you before, you understood the response. I mean, you have understood that the business requires this X resource, and you have to really sit and write like what all the skills that you want to look for. One is the skills uh, on the technology front or on the sales front. What does this person has to know if he has to come and perform the job in your company? So the job descriptions has to be written very very well. Okay, right from what skills they want and what are they going to do when they come on board with you. Okay, apart from this, you have to study about your own company culture, right? This is one of the, I mean, I give more than 40% of weightage on the attitude of the person whom you are going to hire, right? Like attitude is something which really plays a major role in startups when compared to the other big MNCs, right? Someone who is working in a big MNC, the process is completely there, right? Like they know what to do. They know that there is an helping team for X kind of a skill if they want. But startups is not like that. Startup is a platform which we can give for someone joining us, and they would be able to develop a lot of skills which they might not be able to develop in the bigger companies. So on the attitude side, you really need to look on, okay, my company's stage is this. Okay, when I'm looking for someone, okay, what are the other soft skills that I really need to look for? Okay, someone, I mean, someone who is ready to make his hands dirty, right? Like if there has to be one small piece of work which has to be done, which is not there in his responsibility, but since he is there in a startup and there is a short of resource, how flexible this person is to ready to put the hand there and then get that work done. Okay, so that the deadlines are not really finished. So you have to really spend a good amount of time thinking on what might be the challenges that this person, once he joins, what might be the challenges which could be cropping up around this role. I mean, most of the time, like you might not really have a solution. That's the reason, like you have brought in another person. Is that person flexible enough to learn new things, ready to be a good teammate for the entire team? What is being working with? Is he able to bring that positivity into the team, right? If someone is cribbing a lot, that really downsizes the energy within the team, and also the it really affects the goal in a big way. So a lot of indirect questions, or asking a lot of open questions more on the personal side. Once you might have identified the skills, technical skills, what is required for this role, then you should start talking really a good, maybe more than 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay, once you find that resource to be technically good, to spend good amount of time understanding what that person is. Okay, and then make an hiring decision. So I almost tell every time, I mean, when I really meet founders, and then when we are initially starting building the team, right, raising the fund was kind of a little bit easier than building the first 5, 10 or 10 engineers.
Correct, correct. So, when we talk about having the right attitude match with the organization, with the current team that you are having, not
Mm.
necessarily the startup would be, at a stage where they're hiring for the first time. They would be, the hiring is a continuous process, and
Yeah.
every time a founder or the managerial level people, they go out to, hunt talent. Is there a pre hiring requirement that early stage startups should have if they're hiring for the first time, or
Mm-hmm.
if we are talking about companies who have hired before, we understand that there would be things in place. But for those
Mm-hmm.
companies hiring for the first time, is there any uh, technical requirements before hiring that they should meet before they get started, so that the team building doesn't backfire, or obviously there are no
Yeah.
you're not making anyone upset.
Yeah. So most of the time, this is what like I have been doing all my 2 decades of my experience, right? I go where the talent is there, right? Irrespective of whether the startup that I'm working with is hiring or not. Okay, there is a lot of offline events and online events which will be happening. Even if you're not hiring, but you know that like okay, down the line in next 3 months, 6 months, or even it might be 1 year, right? Go to the events, be where your resources are there, right? And start building the network of the talent that you want to hire on. This is one of the very important aspect which really has helped me in my career when I'm hiring the first 5 members or the 10 members of the team, right? I believe, and Amrit, you might know, like I mean, networking is the most important aspect for the entrepreneur. So if you are able to be in those network and start telling about like what you're been doing, right? You are the ambassador. I mean, you the founders have to be the recruiters. It is not just the outside recruiting agency has to do your job. I personally tell the first 5, 10 years, okay, the founder's responsibility is 100% on the hiring, finding the talent. Okay, even when you are working with if you want to work with a recruiter, okay, identify a good recruiter who will understand your business very well. Okay, and what stage you are in. Okay, and uh, completely the recruiter has to understand you. Along with the recruiter need to build a persona of an employee, because someone who has been working with a bigger company or with a funded startup, for example, if you are a bootstrapped company and when you are hiring, okay, you might come across today finding a talent is not really a challenge. It is the finding the right persona of the employee is the challenge in India
Mm,
now.
mm,
The skills are the people with the skills are available, but finding a right person who can fit into your puzzle is the uh, very challenging task. Even if
correct.
you have money, I'm sitting on requirements where I can offer about like more than 60 lakhs, 70 lakhs, and from past 2 weeks, like I've not been able to identify even one profile.
Mm, mm, mm.
So,
So talking about persona over here, Bharti, just
mhm,
a step back to the discussion where we were talking about the hiring.
mhm,
One of the challenge where we are not able to find the right attitude fit for the company. So,
mhm,
can you share with us a couple of questions that can help a founder
mhm,
in the interview to check, or maybe have conversations that can help us understand, gauge the attitude of the
mhm.
person?
Yeah. So usually what has really worked for me is Amrit, once the technical people have finished their interviews, right? I try to sit with the person. I do usually the 2 rounds of interview. One would be in the formal setup in the office space or an online one, wherein I try to talk right from the person from his school days. Like what has been something you really find it like very interesting in your childhood, right? And then like what is one of the important what is one of the challenge that you came across in life and how did you solve that,
Mm,
right? And talk about their college life, what did they do. All this has to be kind of an informal discussion which has to happen on, so that like you would be able to understand, okay, this person has gone through these kind of challenges in his life. This is the way he has dealt with his friends or some or or in his family has come across this kind of a challenge, okay, and he has took the ownership of it and then he has solved that. So from that you will come to know, okay, even if you put him in a challenging kind of an environment, he is able to deal with that, right? Or otherwise, like if you find a person who is really everything has been a success right from his academics to personal, everything is built for him, everything was ready made to him, nowhere he had to really fight for any of the challenges, then when you're not able to find the thing, then ask him about the work life, what he has done, what was his contribution, not really on the work wise, right? What was the difference that he did to the business? For example, like I'll tell you, like I mean, last year I was working with one of the US based fintech company, and within their 4 or 5 months of the app going out, the company really was in a challenge to identify a front end resource, okay, wherein within 3 or 4 months of time, like the business has really gone very high. They just built for some 100,000 customers, but all of a sudden it crossed millions,
Mm.
right? So you really need, at that point of time, they need a resource who can handle that scale. But the production issues are at a very high rate. Every day is getting more than 150 tickets.
Mm.
It's kind of a bombarding kind of a profile. He has to join the day. From the time he joins, he's under pressure. So
Correct.
for this person, like, I mean, his technical skills is very important. At the same time, how will he be calm,
Correct. Correct.
right? So, I mean, I tell, I mean, once the technical discussion is done, there has to be a good amount of time which has to go on understanding the attitude of the person. Is he a short-tempered guy? Is he becomes uncomfortable when the things are not in line? See, I've come across a lot of very good resources who have worked in MNCs very well, but when you get the same guy for a similar kind of a profile and put him in a startup, which is not really process driven, he really gets angry. He really tells, where did I come? And I've seen people quitting within a week's time. So the time is lost. The cost, I mean, today and for entrepreneurs, time is currency. So if the founders had spent about a little amount of time personally understanding the attitude of the person, somewhere or there you will be able to come across, okay, and say that, okay, this person will sit in my uh, business or will he not be able to.
Mm. Mm. Got it. Got it. So, yeah. So, going back to the topic of employee persona, marketing has this thing of creating a user persona and then diving deeper into targeting and all those things. But talking about employee persona, how do you make one? Maybe a framework, something that you can tell us about it, so that entrepreneurs, for them, it would be some a starter thing.
So, I mean, it comes back again on the same way, right? Like, I mean, identify the companies which are of your similar size first, okay? And try to write the person, okay, this is the kind of the work I would require, and I want a person to be coming from a similar kind of a setup and has a similar kind of challenges he has handled, right? Writing the, I mean, this has to be done by an employee, okay? This person has to be coming from this kind of an educational institute, right? And then work with either a startup or a company which has been at a similar kind of a scale. I mean, one of the very important thing is, as this person been in an organization right from the scratch of it and gone up to 1x or 2x of it, because you might be at zero, right? For example, you might be at 0 or 1x. You require people moving from, he has to be one of the key person to move your business from 1x to 2x or 0 to 1, only if he has done that kind of a journey, or he has an idea, intention, okay, his passion towards his work, not about your business. If someone is very passionate about the work what they do, they will really add value. Does this person have passion in the work what he does? It is not on your startup, his work. All of us, I mean, most of the time, like when I come across the person, like he or she tells me that this is the only if there is a challenging kind of a work and there is a learning on an everyday basis, only then I'm going to come.
Mm.
Right? Not really. You might give X dollars or Y dollars. Okay. Along with this, for me, I require this kind of a growth. I have a startup journey from 0 to 1x, which I've done in the last 3 years. I want to see the growth from 1x to 2x. That is what I've been looking for. Right?
Mm.
So you have to study your business, study your requirement, and come up with the process document for this particular role. Okay, I mean, even it could be the small points, right? Like as I said you before, okay, the for example the marketing or the sales side, most of the time it is not at all in a process. I mean,
Mm.
somehow the inbound lead comes or you go out in a network, you get it, but you want to hire a senior person for it. That
Mm.
person should be able to write the processes for you. Is this person able to write the process for you?
Mm. Mm.
So there could be a lot of nitty-gritties which you really need to look and write out the document before you jump in and start hiring.
Mm. 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 Got
The
it. Got it. So, one of the last
Mhm.
questions from the scope of today's session is what I'm going to ask you, and then we'll be heading to the
Mhm.
Q&A round where we'll be taking up some questions from the community that people have asked. So the last thing that I wanted you to touch upon is DIY hiring. Companies at an early stage, the founders or the team that they are having, they hire themselves. They try to explore some platforms, run their interviews at their level as per their understanding. So that's why we call it as DIY hiring, do it yourself. But then till what stage is that okay to do, and beyond what stage is it recommended to have a specialist do it for you? So yeah.
See, it is all the. I mean, for the first 5 to 10 years, I really insist and I really involve the founders. Okay, they have to be the front face. See, when I mean, it could be Flipkart or Amazon. There is a brand for it, right? Like when you tell that like you are hiring for this XYZ, oh, people will understand. For a startup, founders are the person wherein they have to sell themselves when they have to hire the person. I've been telling like recruitment or hiring is not really the old fashioned HR kind of a profile. Recruiter's profile is a sales profile, and no one is better than the founder when they have to hire a prospect employee. Most of the time, what I do is LinkedIn has become a great tool to hire on. So the first thing, for the first 5 to 10 years, I really insist the emails or the invitation to be going from the founder's profile. It could be a simple two liner. I mean, you have to put it in your daily to do task to send at least about 20 to 25 emails for the prospect candidates. Okay. And from there, the conversation can be taken forward. Even after like you become more than 10 or 15, right? Hire a right recruiter, because most of the time the recruiters are taken very easily, okay, thinking that hey, I have given you the job description, go and identify that. No, I tell, for a startup or for a bigger company, recruiter is the face of your company. So hire a quality recruiter. Okay. And I mean, when you are hiring the recruiter, you really have to interview that recruiter, whether this recruiter is a startup recruiter or not. Because I mean, there are hazard recruitment consultants. I mean, every city you go, every line, at least you will be able to identify one or two. But not everyone is fit for startups, right?
Correct.
Identify the recruiter who is first passionate uh, passionate to hire for startups, because hiring for Amazon, Flipkart, or Infosys, that's the different kind of a thing. You send out 100,000 emails, you get 5, 10, and that could be filled on. But startup hiring is not so easy. Identifying the talent itself is very difficult, and the recruiter has to be a very good storyteller. She has to carry the passion what you have about your company. She has to be able to, she or he has to propagate the same kind of an energy, same kind of an enthusiasm, same kind of a positivity in the first call. The first call which goes to the candidates is very, very important. Even it could be an email. You should mail that, you should make them feel special. Okay, and talk about, like, maybe it is all the elevator pitch. No one
Mm.
today have the time to read bigger I mean emails. 3 or 4 lines. You need to make them feel, hey, even if I don't join, I have to take the discovery call.
Correct, correct. I think
And
that's where I think what you mentioned about earlier, that first you as a founder interviewing the uh, person who is going to be your hiring manager or hiring agency. I think that's where scouting the right team is what it matters. But tell me, it's a top of my mind question over here, Bharti. That say if you're looking at onboarding a hiring agency, and you are doing your due diligence and making sure that yeah, these are the right people who are passionate about startup hiring, and they would do a good job for me. But how much involvement will they allow for a founder uh, to be in the process of how do they approach the people, and what are the first touch points that they maintain on our behalf? Because obviously now they are going to represent our brand, and since they
Mhm.
call themselves as specialists, and uh, how, till what extent will we be able to tell them that okay, do it like this? I want them to get an email which is
Yeah. So, Amrit, this is one of the very, very challenging question that you have asked. It is very, very difficult to identify a quality recruiting agency. Even if you identify that, right? Like, they representing you as a third party person, it all depends on that particular founder, how the system they have built for the recruitment. For example, when it comes to me, right, like my company, like, we have worked only with founders last 10, 12 years. Like, we have been an integral part of the startups that we have worked with. We don't really represent as a third party one, because that kind of an information is being given to us. And I myself, I believe in startups. I enjoy doing in startups. Most of the time, like during our conversations, I have said, like, once the team becomes 200, Amrit, I'm not really interested to work with that company, because I don't really get that kind of a satisfaction hiring about 200 people. I mean, the journey from 5 to 15, 20 is really kind of very, very, very interesting journey for me, right?
mm,
So I mean, maybe when you are meeting them, you will be able to understand, are they really working only for the 8.33 what they do? Are they also really interested to share this journey of a startup? Most of the
correct,
time, like the 35 companies I have worked with, okay, I have been their part of their journey, right from doing the interviews in the coffee shop to having a full-fledged office space, and growing from 0 to 150, 200. So you have to really identify a recruiter who just tells, okay, I'm going to send you 10 resumes,
correct, correct.
right?
Got it.
I mean, identify them, what are their values, right?
Mm,
As an agency, my value is like, okay, Amrit, give me a client, okay, who is struggling for hiring in their initial stage. I would enjoy to do that, and I can take you through the steps what I will be able to do, okay, for you to achieve that. And I'll tell you, these are the things which I really require. Without this, without the meeting with an hiring manager, without sitting in the interview, what you do, I will not be taking up the project completely. Understand what is their hiring process, what are the tools they use, okay, and what are the kind of the clients that they have handled before, how are these people's resources able to make the change there.
Correct, correct, correct. Awesome. I think we have covered quite a lot of
Mm-hmm.
area. I think let's quickly jump into the Q&A session where I have a bunch of questions, Bharti, that I'll be putting at
Mm-hmm.
you. Uh,
Okay.
would love to know your thoughts about these. The
Yeah.
first question is there a blueprint or a streamlined way to find a co-founder?
This is almost like finding a life partner. Amrit. I mean, the other day, like I think so, on the same line we spoke for 2 hours, right? Like it is like a dating one. So there is no proper mathematical equation. Okay, this is what it is required to identify. I mean, one of the thing I always tell the founders, right? Like, build a strong network around you. Okay, be part of every event that is possible for you to attend, right? And keep a word. I mean, it's okay to tell everyone that you are looking for a founder. You word of mouth really, I mean, we live in a social media era today, but nothing beats word of mouth. And be authentic in every network that you are with, right? And start looking for it, and you be prepared completely that what is the kind of the co-founder that you are able to find, and what is the equity that you are ready to share. Because I have seen in a lot of events where people are really struggling to identify a co-founder, and they tell like these are the things, Bharti, I'm looking for. If you come across anyone, I mean, this is the kind of this stocks I'm ready to give up, right? I mean, I mean, don't really be desperate in a desperation kind of a mode, okay? Much before your business wants a co-founder or an employee, be part of. I mean, in one day, I mean, weekly, one day has to be completely a day for you to network, and make it an habit at least to meet. If you are there in your early stage, at least to meet 2 or 3 new people one to one every week. It has to become like a diet in your diary, that how you take your proteins. Okay, meeting at least 3 new people in a week is very much important. I mean,
Correct.
once the network is built, then the network works for you, but it really takes time. And it also very important, what kind of people have you been connected with.
Correct, correct. I think this, as you said, we have discussed with this, and that conversation with you, Bharti, was really meaningful on the phone when I discussed with you. And
Mhm.
I'm sure there is Shweta in the chat box. She's saying that she wants to connect with you and discuss tons of ideas of having a co-founder.
Mhm.
This is so exciting. Uh, One of the very common questions that we got from the community is also that getting the right timing for hiring is crucial for a startup. Um, how do you know when is the right time?
I mean, when your hands are full, you have started working more than 15-16 hours in a day, okay, and you're able to see the work for the next 6 months, right? That's the time that you really need to start hiring. Okay, as I said you in the initial phase, right? Like, I mean, before the business starts asking you for a people, by that time try to build your network so that you can easily go and tap on. If you're going to start at the time when everything is burning, any kind of a resource, trust me, Amit, it's not, you're not able to get the person less than 60 days of time.
Hmm.
So be prepared.
Yes. One question in the chat box is usually in the interviews, the employees portray that they are good at handling challenges. And they obviously have such stories that are convincing, but we are obviously not able to verify them. So how to deal with such situations and how to actually check that are they really proactive and having an attitude of learning?
This has been the challenge. I mean, right from the time the business has started, right? I mean, the whole of the interview process has been changed in the last more than 10 years, I can tell you. Okay. I mean, give a real time challenge what you have in your business. It could be a small piece of work that you want to give them, ask them to find a solution for it. It could be a small piece. Like what we really do in the software side is like we try to make them write a small POC for us, okay, which will help us to understand right from the way they think on solving the issues, okay. Their logical thinking capabilities are identified and their problem solving skills are identified, their coding style is identified. And what is one thing that I do in a marketing or a sales profile which I handle is I'll give them a particular, I'll ask them to identify one of the competitors of ours and then build a slide on it and how are they going to uh, build the sales process for it. For example, like we are a product company, okay, who is just serving in the Indian market and we want to go and pitch into the US market. So he is being hired for the US market. So if our product has to go and sit in the US market, what is the process that you are going to fill? You're going to build, right?
Mm.
So give a real time challenge. I mean, every company, every startup does this. Give them a real time challenge, give them a time, get them to a good coffee shop, get them a good lunch, okay, make them to work on it. And someone who is genuinely interested, this would be kind of a lengthier process. Maybe for us, like sometimes even 20 in one doesn't reply with the assignment that we give, but the founders has to be patient enough, okay. The 20 people have not done the assignment, let me go and identify another 20 people. So it's a process, but never break your interview process, so that like you would be able to hire the right resources. Give them a
Correct.
real time challenge and make them to present that to you.
Correct. Correct. Awesome. A few more questions, Bharati, before
Yeah.
we wrap up today's session. So, a question from the community is: currently we have a team of interns, but they all are trainees. We are looking to hire full-time professionals, but we don't
Mhm.
know where to start. So maybe a few steps, the few initial steps, I think would help, Bharati, over here.
Okay, so you already have worked with the interns and you think that okay, you really need to hire a full-time employee, right? Like one is like you really need to understand, do you have the financial stability for you to hire a full-time resource? And when you are hiring that full-time resource, paying him X dollars, are you able to give him the work for the complete 8 hours for what you pay them? Okay. If you have to go out of your business and raise a loan to pay this guy his salary, okay, you have to really substantiate yourself that yes, maybe for the first 3 months or the 6 months I have to, or 1 year I will go and take a loan and pay this guy, but after 1 year, once his work is completed, there is a big amount of money which should be coming in, or I would be able to generate the revenue for the work what he has done. Okay, the founder has to really think on all this aspect, right from giving the work to him, how the work what he does is going to influence the business in the next 3 months, 6 months, or a 1 year time. Will I am I I mean, on the financial side, even if I go and take a loan, will I be able to balance it? Right?
Mm.
So interns might be come can come with a small stipend or a time, but when you look for a full-time resources, you really have to pay them 3x or 4x of the time that you have been paying the intern. It does not get just getting a full-time employee, but are we able to get the work done from them? I mean, is there a financial raise which could make a difference in the business?
Mm. Got it. Got it. Awesome. A quick question, Bharti. Top two platforms that you would suggest entrepreneurs to go to if they are looking to hire someone.
LinkedIn is the number one.
Okay, and what follows that is?
I mean, it is. I mean, I mean, there are a lot of job boards which I have lived on in the last. I mean, initial 7 8 years. We were completely on the job boards, Naukri, Monster, JobSite, all those. Right. There is a lot of people there, and there is not really a face when you for in the job boards when you go on. You really have to spend a lot of time identifying the one person in thousand, and there is
Hmm.
no face for it. And maybe sometimes it might be even you come across a fake profile which really looks like a genuine one. LinkedIn, it is easy to approach, and you can get the entire profile of the person. I mean, if you have built your network well, there might be one person who can introduce you to the other person. So LinkedIn is the number one tool if you're looking for technical people. There is GitHub, Stack Overflow, which I most of the time bang on, and networking networking
Correct.
platforms, any of the networking platforms. You might not find that resource, but if your network is, for example, like, I mean, the platform that all of us are there in, right? Like, lot of us know a lot of people. Like, even if you
Correct.
just post here, okay, the people might not be the right candidate, might not be there, but there may be one entrepreneur who knows the resource what you want.
Correct. I think a reference system is
Yeah,
something
and
that you have
when
to
you're
follow.
also hiring, I'm looking for UX designers now for one of the client that I'm handling now. So Behance is one of the very good platform to identify the designers, and also Dribble is one more platform for you to identify the designers. So I mean, there is good number of platforms where you can really identify the people.
Correct. Correct.
But it all
One
requires time. It all requires time.
time and patience. Yes, I second that. So Ishita is asking, when you're doing a senior management hiring, how do you identify their compatibility with the company culture?
Yeah, I have a very good failure story on hiring a series of senior management people when it comes to the startup, right? I'll just tell you the failure what I had, and then maybe for that, like, I mean, that could become a good lesson what to really look for in a senior management, right? I was building up one of the sales team for one of the US based startup that I was hiring. Okay, and there is one of the X company which is one of the very good product company, and the company is really, the sales guys who are there in that company are really known for the skills, because the process is so strong there. So thinking that, okay, if I'm going to hire the sales guys from this particular company, okay, if I'm able to hire one leader, I'm going to get the entire bunch of the complete inside sales team that I was building on. I bought the leadership guy from that startup, and he was a big failure in the startup.
Hmm. Hmm.
The reason one being, right, like when you're uh, identifying the person who has been with a bigger company, okay, the ownership was something which was really, really lacking, because they're in a bigger setup, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. Okay, you have resources for every small piece of code
Hmm.
that the person has to do, and he has lost that enthusiasm in him, even though it's just about like 10 years of experience. He has already done that cycle, and he has already gone to a stage where he has satisfied his needs, both on the job side and also on the financial side. So when you are really hiring a senior management person, you have to really look on this person, whether this person would be able to have that kind of a drive within him. What is the one motto he has to leave another company and come and join here as a senior management person? Okay, will he be able to perform the task what is being given to him? Will he be able to make his hands dirty? Right? So this is one of the very important thing. What you really need to do is checking on the person's personal interest on joining here. When you ask him a straightforward question, hey, Amrit, we are a startup and we have these kind of a challenges. Will you be able to do it? Obviously, the answer from you, since you are really looking out, your answer will be 100% yes, right? So the time that you write, the time that you take to write the challenges what you have, okay, spend some amount of time on asking the indirect question, more on the personal front, not really on the skill set, right? Like when you try to ask him a lot on his personal goals, his personal needs, what is there, and what is that, is there interest in him on learning. If he is sufficient, okay, I've done much, I've done, I just want a job, 9 to 5 job, then that is not really possible, right? There has to be, uh, much beyond the money what you pay. Is he really interested to add one more logo in his success? Does he wants to really take this company from 1x to 2x? That is what is required.
Correct. I
And
think
that's again on the networking side. The more the the people that you network with, okay, you would be able to get one reference or the other references. Once you finish, like go back and then try to take the references of that person.
correct. I think this was also one of the questions that I was about to ask you, and then even Suruchi and Jay Thakur are mentioning in the chat box that the employee loses focus and willingness to work, or maybe there's a project abandonment. So, how do you deal with such situations? Not necessarily this might be at a senior management level, but this is more of a attitude issue progressively on the job if it happens. How do you tackle that issue?
See, one of the things the founders have to really do is spend, in a week's time, like I try to identify your calendar and try to have at least one-on-one meeting weekly once unofficially. Maybe during a lunch or something, and try to build a rapport and keep it open doors. Open doors. Anyone finding, having any kind of a challenge, they should be comfortable enough to come and tell you that they've been going through this kind of a challenge. It could be on the job front or it could be on a managerial front. We are dealing with humans, right? Like, so there could be an issue they might face with a co-worker, or it could be with a manager. Okay, having, it has to be more like a family kind of a setup, which has to be there till you are about 50 people, knowing each person in detail, right? That is very much important. And sometimes there are people, right, like whatever you do, they are not satisfied, and it becomes really challenging to meet their needs on a every day or every week basis, because whatever you do, they come and crib. And that is really a sign for you to, you have to really tap that person off.
All right.
So
All right.
the, take time on hiring, but not really when you really have to take out the person on the attitude basis. Please do it at the earliest, because it's going to rotten all the apples which are there in the basket.
Yeah, absolutely. Drashti is asking about what is the kind of processes, what is the kind of process for hiring freelancers for maybe a contractual period of 3 to 6 months. How deep is that process of hiring freelancers as compared to a process of hiring full-time people?
I have not really handled contract hiring or freelancers in a big number, Amrit. So from my limited knowledge, what I do is like, I mean, when you're hiring for 3 to 6 months, you are very clear on for what job you're hiring, right? So the expectations are very clear that he has to really log in for a particular amount of time. And most of the time for a startup, I always tell the payment has to be on the delivery, not on the time.
Mm. Mm.
Because you are very clear that you are hiring this person for this particular job. I mean, quantify it. What is the amount of work which has to be done in a fortnight, what it has to be done in a 1 month. It has to be always the milestone based payment system, and not the time based payment system. And to identify freelancers, I think so there are, I mean, for the US, like I usually go for Toptal, because that's one of the uh, vetted kind of a platform when compared to other freelancing boards. Of course, the cost is kind of a little higher than a full-time employee, but you don't really have to spend so much of time vetting the person's skill. Toptal has done completely the technical assessment for them, and then only they get them on board.
Correct, correct. I think that's pretty much it, Bharti. These were
Mm-hmm.
the set of questions. Guys, if I am missing any questions, and if you have any more questions that you want to ask, please, maybe you can just show a hand. I could just, allow you to speak maybe, and we can take up this question instantaneously. If there are no more such questions, so I think let's wrap up today's session. This was a great session, Bharti. Thank you so much for doing this for the community,
Yeah,
and
thank.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure it was, good learning, good inspiration. I request all the members that if you found this session useful today, please drop your thoughts in the WhatsApp group so that it inspires more people to attend such sessions and more people get impacted by this, whatever masterclasses we are curating. Going forward, we have got a masterclass on a lot of businesses that struggle at the initial phase, and it is not able to, the businesses are not able to go from 1 to 2 and 1 to 3 for the point. So we are planning a masterclass in that space. We are planning a masterclass in the legal space, copyright, patents, and trademarking. So there are a lot of masterclass coming up for in the coming months. So please do drop your feedback in the group so that people can read and be encouraged to attend such workshops. Bharti, thank you so much for
Thank you
doing this
so
one.
much, Amrit. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
thank you guys for sticking around. It was a great session, and I hope I could take all the questions that you had asked for.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.